Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, so SPY and QQ did close right at these 21 EMAs. SPY is right at its 200 daily moving average. And then if we come over here to QQQ, we could see you are right below your 200-day moving average around that 494.49 resistance. I do think we are going to continue at least higher up to that spot. That was originally what we were looking for. You came so close and closed out with a bullish manner to where it doesn't really make sense for you not to hit that. You are back above the short-term moving average right here. You have your 9 EMA over here that you're finding resistance at, or about 5 trading sessions here, a whole week, and then you snap above it this morning, flip it into support, that 585.84 level, and now you hit it with the bullish close, closing out near the high of day. You are likely to continue. If you do pull back, you're going to be above where you were finding resistance before, so it's probably going to be an SR flip, flipping that supply into demand, and you would probably see something like that. Now, on SPY, you see over here, we are right here at this 200, but I am just going to come down to the hourly time frame, and you're maybe wondering where did you get this from? Well, this was the range we just broke out of. So we had this range. This is the bottom over here. You're getting your reactions, all right? And then you have the top of the range over here. And that is, $10.50 move. That brings you right up here to our 580.91 resistance. I'm not saying you get up there, but that is going to be the measured move of the range. And you don't have to go straight up, but you're likely to get up there. Same thing over here on QQ. Slightly different numbers we're working with, but it is nonetheless the same over here. You got $13.50. All right, and that is going to take you up towards that that 500 level, that 500 psych level. So I do think, whether you pull back here or not, I do think we're probably going to, get a move like, we're probably going to see that measure move play out. We're probably going to see 500 over here on the Qs. And then SPY is very likely to get up here to that 580.91 spot. But it all starts here, right here at the 21. Now, we don't expect things to just, to go straight above it. If you pull back now, all right, you want to see buyers off of these short-term moving averages, all right? So if we get above the 21, maybe we come over here, and then you pull back here, you want to be finding buyers in this area. We're just going to take that off here. All right, let's say you go a little higher. You go here. You pull back. You want to find buyers right here. All right, this whole area right over there, you want to be finding buyers. That is where you were finding sellers. You gapped above it this morning. Excuse me, got the hiccups. Now you want to see that turn into support. All right, so let's just come over here and let's just say take out high of day, 575.15. We're talking 577.39 from there. And above there, that big 580.91 level. And, the supply goes from 580.91, the supply zone is 580.91 up to 586.12. Honestly, guys, I'm just kind of looking for this whole area to be tested in between 580 and 590. I'm not sure where the sellers exactly would be stepping in, but if I had to guess, it's going to be right over here. All right, so that's your resistance on SPY. On the downside is your support. You have 572.25, 569.71, and 566.68. You don't want to get back 569.71 though, all right? So we'll talk about it if that starts, giving back there, and then we could talk about some lower levels. But for now, the bounce has started, and, market, it's very clear we have things looking like they want to continue this bounce. I will say today, though, Mag 7, we're not leading the way. They will not really participate in the bounce there. You really had semis leading the way, so I'm going to go over that. Right after we finish up over here with QQ, all right? So your resistance on QQ, 494.49. That's going to be a key spot. Why you get the 200 DMA sitting right here. That is a place for sellers to step in. Anyone who is trying to buy it over here, well, you were underwater for a little while, so I'm guessing you're probably going to try and sell it there. If you can get above 494.49, we're talking 503.52, and above there, 512.50, which is your 0.618 fib. And it also aligns with this level right over here around 511.05. On the downside is your support. You want to find buyers off of 485.84 like you did today. All right. Why is the wick coming all the way down here? 484.47. Okay. That's a glitch in the system. All right, so not like you did today, but if you do pull back into 485.84 down here, you want to find buyers off this level. If not there, then you're watching 479.74 and then 476.28. You don't want to get back down there though. At that point, you're probably going to take out the low. You want to continue pushing here. You don't want to come back down here. So if you pull back to 485.84, better hold there for further upside. All right, so that is QQ. Now I'm going to come over here to the VIX, and I'm just going to point out the thing is probably going to continue dumping here. We are looking for, ever since this day right here, all right, you got your close underneath 2204. We are looking for this thing to start, really rolling over here, getting that VIX crush. And then the next day you lost the 21 here. And then we're going to be looking for rejection on the next day as it came into the short-term moving averages. And now we're actually seeing the VIX crush back down to the lows over here. Once it gets down to 1571, we're going to be looking for buyers stepping over here. I know it's not exactly buyers over here, but we're going to be looking for VIX to catch a bid once it starts getting down, 15, 16 bucks. Not there yet, though. You lost 1806. You really got nothing in between here and all the way down here. So you're probably coming down to that 16 mark. That's the VIX for you. Coming over here to IWM. All right. There's a lot of small caps looking really nice right now. IWM over here pushing that 208.84 resistance. Above there, you have nothing until 213.97, and then you have the 200 DMA sitting right above that 217.37 resistance. You can see right here on the weekly time frame, buyer stepped in the perfect spot, and you're starting to catch that bid. Expect that reversion to the mean. That's why people, they're trying to go short in the hole. All right, I may have been early to the party over there on the indices, but I do know what shorting a hole looks like, and it is never a thing to do. It's going to drive you nuts. You lose money on the way down. Maybe you don't participate in the move down, and then you try and short after weeks of selling there. It's not going to be a good move. You're going to get the reversion to the mean, and then after that, the whole bear market thing, it would have started if you come up here, get the sellers, and then take out the low over here. That's when hey, all right, I'm not even saying you got to wait till it takes out the low, but the time to be taking out short positions, if you're going to take your swing at it, it's not going to be anywhere down here. Very obviously going to be right around the short-term weekly moving average over here, which happens to be in this supply zone you broke down from. You got the golden pocket starting right above it. This is the confluence spot for sellers. This is where you would want to take your swing at that. My opinion only. All right. And you come over DIA over here. You're looking like you are going to be popping up to that 430 spot in the short term. All right. But, today's theme, 21 EMA here on, a lot of tickers is being tested. Mag 7 stocks. I'm just going to say a lot of them rejected it. I'm going to just point to Nvidia here. Chips were leading the way today. And I do think because of how Nvidia is set up over here, we're probably going to be seeing the market get dragged higher. Nvidia, if it takes out 122.89, all right, set your alert for up there. If it gets over there, you're probably going to see it come straight up here to 127.67, where that 200 daily moving average is, as well as that golden pocket, the 0.618 fib, and our heavily traded zone up here, which is now going to be flipped into supply. All right, so above 122.89, you're looking for the move up to 127.67. You are going to expect sellers up here, but if this thing could start moving up here, then yeah, the market is probably going to be dragged up a little higher. QQ is probably going that 494 spot around that 200 daily moving average that I just pointed out. But yeah, for over here on Nvidia, guys, if it pulls back, use 120.45 as your support underneath there, 119.31. You don't want to come back down to 118. If you come back down to 118, at that point, you're probably going to revisit the low down here at 115.14. Oh my gosh. I hate these hiccups. Really do. Tesla, guys, the star of the show today. When everyone is hating Tesla, that is the time to buy over here. I mean, it's the same way on every other stock over here. But you had the Tim Walz bottom get put in. And now we're seeing a rally going, straight for that 200 DMA here, sitting at 285. All right, so you hit my targets already for the week. I didn't think you were going to have a 12% day over here, but that's pretty crazy. You could very clearly tell what was going on over here on the weekly time frame. All right, two back-to-back bullish weekly candlesticks. That's just not something that typically happens over here on Tesla. If it does happen, you should probably take note of it. You could just look back. You're just not really going to find what we have right now. This is pretty, immaculate looking. nonetheless, guys, 200 daily moving average sitting right here at 285. Get above 285, we're talking 299.29. So that $300 cycle level, get above that $300 cycle level, then you're talking 326.59. On the downside, support. All right, you got above the short-term moving averages over here. If you pull back into them anywhere between 251.84 and 271, expect your buyers to defend. That is Tesla. Coming over here to Meta, tested the 21 EMA. Was pretty ugly at one point in the day. You sold all the way back down here. All right, we could just see here on the hourly time frame. All right, hit that resistance, 620.50. Sold off right from it, and you were looking like you were going to put a nice top and tail over here, but you know, from how things are closing out here, I do think we're likely to continue this. I think Meta probably gets over that, but if it does not, all right, like I pointed out how Nvidia is looking. If Nvidia takes out that 122, whatever the level we were just looking at, that 122.89 level over here, then I imagine the rest of, you know, these Mag 7 stocks are probably going to be taking a ride with it. Case that is not the case, and this thing wants to pull back. All right, over here on the hourly time frame, you're gonna be watching 608.86, and then underneath there, anywhere between 590. You know, we're gonna take this off right here. You're gonna be looking at 598. All right, so 598 and 608.86 on a pullback. That's what you're paying attention to. You want to hold that, because if you lose 598, you're losing this 9 EMA right here, which is clearly, you know, you're finding a lot of rejection here at the 9 EMA the whole way down. You get above it one day here. If you pull back into it, you better hold that thing in support, or bad things can happen. You come back down to the lows, you hit this 200 right over here. All right, but on the upside, let's say you take out 620.50. Let's say you gap above it tomorrow. Then you pay attention to 632.10 and 638.40. That is that. That is Meta. Microsoft over here, guys. I know she's not the prettiest over here, but we, you know, it clearly is still set up. It has not moved. There's nothing we can do about it. You know, don't sit there getting mad at the chart there. The chart's not going to go any faster from you getting mad at it. It's, you know, this whole market thing, it kind of is a patience game. It is waiting for your setups. You take an action on your setups, and then you wait for them to play out. Things can take time. Things can also not work out. It is what it is, but it is your job as a trader to adapt to whatever market you are given. And right now, guys, the market just started turning around. It's not at the point for the Mag 7 stocks to, you know, completely rip faces here. We're seeing a lot of other stocks rip faces today, but I will definitely point out, as far as Mag 7 stocks, like take Tesla out of the mix, you really didn't get a lot of movement today. All right, like I know Tesla did this, but then you look at Meta, barely moved today intraday. You look at Microsoft, barely moved intraday. Apple over here barely moved intraday. Amazon, you know, decent movement. I'm just going to point out, above that 201.20 level, you're testing the 21, you're watching 209.98 and then 215.90. Looking really nice over there, finally starting this move off of that base. All right, but you know, my point is, you really don't have all that much movement over here across the board on the Mag 7 stocks. Yes, they're looking good, but it's still, you know, I think it's still coming out of that fearful bottom over here. It's going to take a little bit for these things to click and for buyers to really step in here. But as far as, you know, risk on, yeah, I'm just going to say, we got a bunch of stocks, you know, doing some pretty crazy things over here. All right, you know, you can very clearly tell the market is getting back to that risk on environment, or that risk on feeling, I guess, you know, where money is just flowing into these riskier, you know, kind of names here. All right, like MSTR. All right, but we'll get to that later in the video. Let's finish going up over these Mag 7 stocks. Microsoft, 392.71. That's the level to pay attention to. That was your most recent breakout level. That is right where the 21 EMA is. You look like you have flipped this into support today. You then want to take out the today's candle high at 395.40. Get above there, we're talking 480, and then more importantly, this 405.57, a 410.29 zone. All right, things take time. It is what it is. Like I said, don't sit there getting frustrated with the chart. It's not helping benefiting you as a trader. Be doing that, you know, dumb stuff right there. It is what it is. All right, it is up to you to take note. And if you didn't play things the best this time around, you take note, you journal about it, and you make sure you remember it next time. All right, so you can do something that will make sense with the market next time. All right, so if you're getting frustrated on this thing moving, well, maybe trade the indice. That's perfectly what's moving right now. So there's that. But Mag 7 stocks, they really have not started gotten going yet. But I do think they're, you clearly see they're starting to turn around here. You had a bunch of base breakouts here. Just because you didn't move a lot today doesn't mean you're not going to get a lot of movement down the, right around the corner. Like over here in Apple, it's very likely going to test the 200 from below. And that's all the way up here around 230. All right. So that's, still ways to go. That's a $10 move you can be expecting over here on Apple. Just because it's not happening right now, it doesn't mean it's not going to be taking place. You are very likely going to be retesting the 200 if you are going to then go lower. All right. You're very likely not just going to fall off a cliff here. You're going to confirm that you just broke under the thing that, it's a very important spot for long-term investors. A lot of the time, you're going to come back up and test it if you're going to go back down to the lows. Same thing over here. Find another example. Over here, lost it, retest it. You don't know if it's going to come back to the lows or not, but the important part is you come back to retest it. It's going to be like this on a lot of tickers, which is why, this 394 spot over on QQQ, that's a big spot. Expect sellers there right away. Like, just expect the sellers to step in there. Maybe we go a little higher. Maybe it then has this pullback right there at the 485.84. We don't know. All right. It can just continue higher. I'm just telling you. That is where long-term investors like to buy. And if they're buying over there and on a lot of stocks, you got underneath it, and now you're starting to retest it from the downside. A lot of people are probably going to jump ship there. So, definitely just confluence for sellers across the board as we're coming into these 200 DMAs. Just something to take note of. All right. Over here on Amazon, however, you had this base over here for quite some time. You broke out from it. All right, you broke out from it, got the daily close above 201.20, and you're right on that 21 from here, guys. We were watching 209.98 and 215.90. You pull back into 201.20, you want to find buyers there. All right, anywhere from there down to around 198. You want to be seeing buyers step in, and then you want to take out this high right here, and you want to see something like this. All right, so that's Amazon. Coming over to Goog. Again, you get this little base going on here. You had like kind of a fallen wedge pattern. All right, something like that. But yeah, you got the breakout today. You're still underneath the 21, right underneath that 170.45 spot. Above there, guys. First stop is going to be right over here. Your gap at 172.25. Above there, however, 176.90, which is right around that 200. So you probably see a quick move from here all the way up here. All right, 176.90, expect sellers there. On the downside, your support is going to be 168.46. All right, and then we can see over here on the chips, guys. Okay, you're still kind of rejecting that 130.80 spot, but you could see above here we have nothing to 137. So that is the move that I think is about to take place. INTC really hasn't moved all that much. It's still in that spot. Really for the strength, to see that the strength is there, want to see buyers here, and then you want to get above here, and then from there you probably do start up like another trending move there, and that's where you could play. Coming over to Avgo, still just in this consolidation, has to break above 199.98 to really start that move, and then you get that $10 pop up to 211.11, $12 pop. SMCI really not doing a whole lot of anything. I would just wait for the break above 44.99 if you're going to play this guy. All right. Or the breakdown under 37.85. And then it comes down to 34.98. TSM, guys, nice little pop over that trend line today. But again, you have that 200 sitting right above. All right. So, I personally, I don't think it's the best idea just to take all these long positions right as everything's testing the 200 from underneath. I think if we see the pullback and then you want to buy the pullback, that's a solid idea. But I'm just saying, like, this is exactly where sellers can step in. And QQQ, like I just pointed out, is just now coming into it. So very well could see something like that. I'm just saying. But also, I fully expect this thing to have a larger bounce at the end of the day. Like you could just see on the weekly time frame, this whole area should be tested. All right, this is just structure left behind. We're very likely going to confirm the breakdown over here, or we're going to have a reclaim over here. Something's going to happen, but we're very likely to test this 494.49 to 503.52 spot. specifically 503.52. That's what I'm thinking over here on Qs. All right, now let's take a look at, like I said, the leader in the video over here. I know I did cover it over there, but you know, I know chips, they're not, you know, some of those, they're not looking the best over here. All right. Oh, and by the way, MU over here, whack-a-mole, fourth time right here at the 200 DMA. Pretty funny stuff. All right, all you got to pay attention is 200. Like, that's what I'm saying. We're coming into it from underneath on a lot of these stickers here. Expect a reaction, but Nvidia over here has not even pushed up to it yet. You still got a ways to go, and the fact that Nvidia is looking how it is right now tells me the market is probably going to be continuing higher. So, you know, my base case over here for, you know, short term, QQ goes to 494. Maybe we find sellers there. Nvidia might get up to 125. We'll see if it pulls back and, you know, confirm support over here, break and retest. All right, something like that. And then maybe you continue a little bit higher. We're going to have to see how that goes. But I will be watching over here King Nvidia to see which way it wants to drag the market. If it breaks over 122.89, very likely it's going to be dragging it to the upside over here. All right, guys. So now I'm just going to come over, you know, to Bitcoin stocks over here. We're watching this trend line. Really, we're watching 90.7K pop above there. Good things happen over here. You know, all of these Bitcoin stocks, the miners, they're really setting up here. They're, you know, looking like they want to make some good moves. MSTR, we need to be paying attention to this guy over here. This was the strength out of, you know, the sector. But then you come over here to coin, guys, and coin just started to move today. Yeah, you had a 7% move, but if this thing's really gonna, you know, get going, these guys are gonna have some catch-up action, some reversion to the mean action. Coin's gonna probably get up here above 220, and it's still at $200. So, you know, above 199.20, you don't really have anything until 222.85. Then above there, you have the 200 DMA, 200 daily moving average around 230, 235. All right, so that's coin. But then you come over here to Riot, guys, and Riot probably going to begin to move back up here to $10. It's currently at 860. You come over here tomorrow, and you're approaching this trend line right here. If, you know, also you have that bullish divergence, you have the double bottom over here. Neckline is going to be right over here. It's actually going to be the high at 1624 right here, this local high. Get above there, all right, and you're looking for the move up here, the 200 daily moving average, 1840, 1850. And then above there, 2059. So, you know, I think Mara over here specifically, this thing could get some moves. Looking very nice there on the daily time frame. And yeah, I think it's probably going to get into this area. But, you know, coin over here, this is, you know, should be the focus. I would say, like, MSTR leading the way, but coin is, you know, going to be moving well. We know coin is going to move well with Bitcoin no matter what it does, which way. So this is something that I would be, you know, playing for that reversion to the mean trade over here. MSTR. Yeah, I mean, this is the strong one. This is the one that's trending right now. And this is the one with strength. This is your reversion to the mean trade right here. All right, getting back up in this 230, 240 area. That's what I would be looking for out of coin. All right, now as far as my trade ideas go, Tav over here, guys. All right. I'm just pointing out you're very likely going to be coming up here to this 98.69 level. On the weekly chart, you could just see, all right, if you are going to continue just like when you're continuing up, you continuously pull back to these short-term moving averages over here. That is going to be your 9 right here. That's right around that 98.69 resistance. It was supposed to be support. You sliced right through it. All right, so expect sellers there. If you don't find sellers there, then 110.30, you're probably going to find sellers, all right? But for the time being, it's probably going to continue bouncing. And if it pulls back, all right, 86.97, 86.67 is the level to watch. I don't think it's going to pull back there, just considering how you already flipped that into support this morning. You don't really need to test it again. You don't want to test it again. You want to just kind of continue going over here. PLTR, I put, you know, all these guys I'm about to show you, I did put on your radar before they actually popped, and now they're just starting to pop here. PLTR now in that 95 to 99 zone. It's looking really good. It's looking like it wants to continue higher. Next resistance is 99.32, and then above there 106. SoFi got above the 21 here. You're above that 1360 resistance. Above here you have 1442, and then the golden pocket starts at 1475. Uber, all right, I like pullbacks over here on Uber. It's not really, you know, moving so much with the market today, but This is definitely one that's set up over here on the weekly, and then the daily chart certainly matches that look. And it's very likely going to end up getting back up here to the high on this move. All right, so that is what you're playing it for, back up to the highs. Netflix over here, guys, you popped above that, little baits you had. You're finding, a whole week here, you're finding sellers at 964.38. Well, today you found buyers there, and you closed above it. From here, we're looking for that move to 1,000. That's Netflix. And, I'll just show you the weekly chart. Don't look all that bad. It looks like it's probably going to make it back up the highs. Next one is Hood, guys. All right, Hood had a very similar look I was saying in the weekly update to Palantir, except Palantir is just, clearly more set up. It's taking more time to consolidate there. Have the inverse head and shoulders patterns looking nice. But they both had a similar look to them. Hood, next stop is going to be 52.65. You can see this on the daily time frame. This is where you broke down from. You found sellers, sellers, sellers. So it's going to be a strong level there at 52.65. And right above, you have the 0.618 fib at 54.83, which aligns with this 54.84 resistance right over there. All right, so expect sellers in between 54.84 and 52.65 right here where that green circle is. Okay, which is, a ways away. So, the idea here, the opportunity, present itself on a pullback, or you're taking, just a breakout move over 48.08. All right, regardless, this is where you're targeting. Lemonade, guys, I've kept it on your radar for a little while. You're starting to see volume pour into this thing. You got a breakout. You had a false breakout over here. I don't think this is going to be another false breakout over here. We know it's getting ready for a move with the weekly moving averages consolidating like this. They're getting so tight. They're just waiting. All right, it's been this way for months now. It's likely to result in a big move. You could see the same thing happening on the daily time frame. This thing over 39.77 can move. Break above there, we're talking 44.53 and then 48. All right, next one we're talking Walmart. You got this little base going on here. I think you're about to break up from that. The level to pay attention to is going to be 87.99. Above 87.99, we have the 21 EMA right there at your gap resistance at 90.23, and above there 92.12 is your next resistance. That's Walmart, and I like how this thing's coming together. Oh, look at that, 200's right below. All right, similar looking chart over there on cost. Look for that reversion to the mean up here, which would be around like 950. All right, but you have that same exact, base and break kind of look to you. And the level to watch over here is 923.39. Above here, we're talking 944.38, and then, get above the 21, and you can really move all the way back up to 1,000. All right, so that's cost. Come over to HIMS. HIMS popped above that 35.02 level today, flipped into support, and now you're pushing that 37.69 level. Above here, we're talking 41.32 and then 46.35. I'm not saying you get all the way back up to the highs, but you did just have quite the fall. All right, just like Palantir over there, you fell quite a bit. Palantir fell 40%. HIMS over here fell 57%. All right, I think it was actually 58% at the bottom there. All right, just about. 57.5% you fell over here. This thing is probably going to get a little bit more of a dead cat bounce no matter what it does over here. All right, and if you just want to mark up that, you already are starting to break out of that as well. Regardless, you have this base, you broke above it, you flipped in support. If you can get above 37.69, probably do see a quick move up here to 41 bucks. That is going to be a 10% move for you to play if you would like to. All right, guys, so that's what I have for you guys in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, just realize there is some more you guys can go check out over there on the Twitter. The link will be down below. I post my charts over there as they come, and I know we go over pretty much everything you possibly need over here on these videos, but over there is going to be, those charts in real time. Just turn on the notifications, and you see those, and you can save them and revisit them. All right? Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.